INFJs often feel as though life weighs on them more heavily than it does on others, not because they are weak, but because of the way they are wired. Their inner world is rich, profound, and often turbulent, and it clashes with a society that values speed, surface-level interactions, and conformity over depth, empathy, and vision. From a very young age, INFJs tend to realize they are different. As children, they are unusually observant and intuitive, picking up on undercurrents in conversations, tensions between parents, or hidden sadness in a classmate's smile. While other children live in the simplicity of play, the INFJ's mind wrestles with why people hurt each other, why the world feels so unfair, or why no one else seems to notice the same invisible truths that they perceive. This early awareness often isolates them, making them feel older than their years, burdened with insights that they can neither share openly nor fully process themselves. As they grow, this sense of being different deepens. INFJs carry a profound empathy that makes them natural healers, listeners, and guides. But this empathy also makes life exhausting. They do not merely witness pain, they absorb it. The sadness of a stranger on the bus, the frustration of a coworker, or the silent suffering of a close friend doesn't just stay outside of them. It seeps in, clings to them, and becomes something they wrestle with internally. Living in a world that is constantly full of noise, injustice, and suffering becomes overwhelming because they feel every bit of it far too deeply. This makes day-to-day living heavier because they are carrying not just their own struggles, but fragments of everyone else's as well. They also struggle with being understood. They are among the rarest personality types, and this rarity makes them feel like outliers in almost every setting. Their minds move in patterns that others can't see, weaving connections between events, symbols, and emotions. While others talk casually, the INFJ often wants to explore meaning, purpose, and the deeper layers of human behavior. But when they try to express these thoughts, they are often met with blank stares, dismissals, or even suspicion. People may think they are too intense, too idealistic, or simply weird. This constant experience of being misunderstood pushes INFJs further into their shells, teaching them early on that their deepest thoughts are safer kept inside, which only amplifies their loneliness. The loneliness is perhaps one of the hardest aspects of the INFJ existence. They long for deep, soulful relationships, but such relationships are rare. While they can attract many people with their warmth, kindness, and ability to listen, they often find themselves giving far more than they receive. Their friendships and relationships frequently become one-sided, with the INFJ acting as the emotional anchor or counselor, while their own inner storms go unnoticed. This lack of reciprocity can leave them feeling used, unappreciated, and invisible. Their standards for relationships are so high, not because they are picky, but because their souls ache for authenticity in a world that often thrives on pretense. This makes it painfully difficult for them to feel truly at home with others. Compounding all of this is the INFJ's inner critic. They are perfectionists with an almost unforgiving sense of responsibility. They see potential paths for themselves and the people around them, and when they fall short of their own lofty ideals, they punish themselves mercilessly. This can lead to cycles of burnout, where they work tirelessly for a cause, a dream, or a person, only to collapse under the weight of their own expectations. Their vision for what life could be is so clear, yet the gap between their dreams and reality feels unbearable. They often oscillate between pushing themselves to exhaustion and withdrawing completely, lost in self-doubt. If you want to truly understand yourself and unlock your full potential as an INFJ, check out the INFJ Mastery course today. The link is in the description of this video. INFJs also face a paradox with their empathy and foresight. They can see the flaws in systems, relationships, and societal structures, and they long to create change. But their sensitivity makes them ill-suited for the harshness of conflict, politics, or direct confrontation. They often know what must be done, but lack the stamina or the ruthless detachment to push through the resistance they meet. This leaves them with a constant ache of unfulfilled purpose, as though they were born to bring light into the world, but are forever blocked by walls they cannot bring themselves to tear down. On top of these struggles, INFJs deal with an internal world that rarely quiets down. Their intuition runs endlessly, analyzing, connecting, and forecasting. While this gives them remarkable insights, it also means they live in a near constant state of mental overstimulation. They replay conversations, foresee possible outcomes, and interpret layers of meaning behind every gesture and word. The mental noise rarely rests, and this can leave them feeling restless, anxious, and disconnected from the present moment. Many INFJs find it difficult to simply be, because their minds are always rushing ahead to what could happen or back to what went wrong. Even when they try to pursue their dreams, INFJs often encounter another kind of hardship. Their vision is usually years ahead of the time, and the world is slow to catch up. They may create art, ideas, or projects that go unappreciated, misunderstood, or dismissed, only for the world to later embrace something similar when someone else presents it. This repeated experience of being unseen and unheard can erode their confidence, making them retreat from sharing their gifts altogether. Yet the longing to make a difference never leaves, creating a painful cycle of yearning and disappointment. What makes life even harder for INFJs is their inability to easily detach. While some personalities can compartmentalize or move on from failures, betrayals, or injustices, INFJs internalize them deeply. A harsh word from someone they trusted, a betrayal from a loved one, or even witnessing cruelty in the world can haunt them for years. Their hearts are not built for casual detachment. They are wired to hold on, to process, and to seek meaning in every wound. This makes them resilient in the long run, but in the moment, it means they suffer more intensely than most. All of these experiences combine to create a life that feels uniquely heavy. The INFJ walks through the world as a quiet guardian, carrying both their own burdens and those of others, dreaming of a reality that is kinder and fairer, but constantly struggling to bridge the chasm between vision and reality. They are idealists in a pragmatic world, empaths in a society that rewards selfishness, visionaries whose voices are too often drowned out by noise. Their life is not simply difficult because of circumstances, but because their very soul is tuned to a frequency that rarely matches the world around them. And yet, it is this very difficulty that shapes the INFJ into something extraordinary. Their hardships give them depth, their loneliness gives them clarity, and their struggles make them wise beyond measure. But the journey to embodying that strength is painful, relentless, and marked by battles most will never see. For the INFJ, life is rarely easy, but it is always profound. INFJs also have an incredibly hard life because of the way they constantly feel pulled between two opposing worlds, their inner vision and the external demands of reality. Inside, they carry a rich, intricate landscape of ideals, dreams, and possibilities. They know how life should be lived, how relationships should feel, how justice should work. Yet outside, they are confronted daily with mediocrity, selfishness, dishonesty, and systems built on exploitation. This dissonance between what they see inwardly and what they encounter outwardly often leaves them in a state of quiet anguish. It is like living with a map of paradise in their minds while being forced to walk through a wasteland. Over time, this constant mismatch between vision and reality erodes their sense of peace, because they can never fully escape their awareness of how far the world falls short. There's also their tendency to overextend themselves to help others. INFJs are natural nurturers, and their instinct is to help, heal, and guide those around them. However, their generosity often attracts people who take without giving back. They end up drained, emotionally and mentally, because they cannot say no without feeling guilty. Even when they recognize that someone is using them, they struggle to set boundaries, as the thought of withholding compassion feels cruel to their deeply empathetic core. The result is a cycle of self-sacrifice that leaves them depleted, resentful, and sometimes even physically ill from the stress of carrying more than their fair share of emotional weight. They also have a challenge with identity, because they are so naturally adaptive. INFJs can mirror others with uncanny precision, understanding people so well that they blend in seamlessly. While this makes them incredibly empathetic and versatile, it comes at a cost. In the process of adapting to different people and environments, they sometimes lose touch with who they are themselves. They can spend years living for others, shaping themselves to fit in, only to one day realize they don't even know what their own voice truly sounds like. This identity confusion can be devastating, leading them into existential crises. Their depth of feeling makes joy and contentment fleeting. INFJs don't simply experience happiness. They dissect it, analyze it, and question its permanence. Even in moments of celebration, they may be haunted by the knowledge that the joy is temporary, that suffering will come again, or that something deeper still feels unfulfilled. Their inability to fully live in the present robs them of the lightness others can enjoy in simple pleasures. This constant undercurrent of longing makes even good times bittersweet, as though there is always something missing that they can't quite name. They crave meaning in work. Many jobs feel shallow, repetitive, or exploitative to them, and they wither in environments that prize profit over people. Even when they do find meaningful work, they often run into obstacles, such as bureaucratic red tape, unsupportive colleagues, or systems resistant to change. Because they pour so much of themselves into their calling, any setback or failure in this area cuts far deeper than it would for someone else. It's not just a job to them, it's their soul's work, and when it doesn't align, life feels unbearable. Their relationship with trust also complicates their life. On one hand, they desperately long to trust people and share their innermost self. On the other, they've often been burned by betrayal, manipulation, or misunderstanding. Because they give so much, when they finally open up, the pain of being let down cuts to the core. Many INFJs carry scars from relationships where they were dismissed, mocked, or abandoned after revealing their true selves. These wounds make it difficult for them to ever fully trust again, which in turn deepens their loneliness. They may smile, listen, and appear present with others, but a part of their heart remains walled off, convinced that no one can ever truly be safe enough to enter. Another area of hardship is their relationship with time. INFJs are often future-focused, always looking ahead to what could or should be. They plan, envision, and dream endlessly, but this future orientation means they often feel like life is passing them by. They can't stop comparing where they are now to where they think they should be, and this creates a constant sense of failure. No matter what they achieve, it rarely feels enough because their inner vision is always 5 steps further. Life becomes an exhausting chase after an ever-receding horizon. INFJs struggle because they cannot easily detach from humanity as a whole. Where others may look away from war, poverty, or corruption, the INFJ internalizes it. They don't just see suffering on the news. They feel it as though it were happening in their own backyard. The weight of global pain settles heavily on their shoulders, and they carry it in silence, because few understand how deeply it affects them. To be so connected to the collective struggles of humankind is both a gift and a curse. It gives them compassion beyond measure, but it also means their hearts are never free from grief. They battle with authenticity versus survival. Deep inside, they long to live in a way that is raw, genuine, and uncompromisingly true to who they are. But the world frequently rewards those who play roles, wear masks, and bend their values to fit in. For INFJs, faking it feels like poison, yet being authentic often comes at a steep cost. Speaking their truth may lead to alienation, conflict, or rejection, so they frequently suppress their real feelings and ideas. Over time, this creates a painful tension within them, because the more they silence themselves, the more they feel like they are betraying their own souls. The choice between being authentic and being accepted is one they are forced to face again and again, and either path is painful. They also wrestle with the weight of being both highly sensitive and fiercely resilient. People see the resilience, the calm demeanor, the thoughtful advice, the ability to endure hardships, and assume they are unshakable. What others don't see is that underneath that resilience lies a tender heart that bruises easily. The world rarely gives them space to be fragile, because their strength makes them the one everyone turns to. As a result, they often suffer in silence, unable to collapse or cry out for help, because they know no one expects them to need saving. The loneliness of being the strong one, while secretly feeling fragile inside, adds another invisible layer of heaviness to their existence. They have a complicated relationship with change. INFJs crave growth and transformation, both for themselves and for others. They have visions of what could be, and they see potential everywhere. Yet change, when it actually comes, unsettles them deeply. Their inner world thrives on stability and predictability. So while they intellectually embrace the idea of transformation, they struggle emotionally to adjust when the ground shifts under their feet. This paradox, desiring change while fearing its upheaval, creates an almost constant undercurrent of inner conflict that makes moving forward in life feel harder than it does for many others. They struggle with communicating well in some situations. INFJs are incredibly articulate in writing or when given time to gather their thoughts, but in spontaneous situations they often stumble. Their thoughts run so deep and layered that putting them into quick, spoken words feels inadequate. They may try to explain something and find themselves misunderstood or dismissed, which leaves them feeling frustrated and unheard. This inability to translate their inner depth into language that others can immediately grasp leaves them feeling cut off from the world, as though they are always speaking a different dialect of humanity. They have a tendency to attract chaos, even when they long for peace. Because of their empathetic and grounding energy, they often draw people who are unstable, lost, or in pain. These people see the INFJ as a safe harbor, and while the INFJ wants to help, the constant exposure to turmoil takes a heavy toll. They find themselves entangled in dramas they never asked for, drained by relationships that feel like emotional whirlpools. What they crave, serenity, depth, and harmony, often eludes them, because their very presence seems to magnetize the brokenness of others. They suffer from an acute awareness of mortality and impermanence. While many people can push away the thought of time slipping by, INFJs feel it constantly. They notice how quickly seasons change, how relationships fade, how moments vanish. This awareness makes them treasure life deeply, but it also fills them with melancholy. They can never fully relax into happiness, because a part of them is always aware that it won't last. This constant grieving of impermanence makes life feel heavier, because they are always carrying both appreciation and sorrow at the same time. INFJs despise confrontation, yet they often find themselves in situations where their principles demand they speak up. When they do, the backlash can be brutal, because others mistake their gentle nature for weakness and are shocked when the INFJ finally pushes back. After standing their ground, the INFJ often retreats into guilt and self-doubt, questioning whether they were too harsh or whether they should have remained silent. This cycle makes every conflict a torment, regardless of whether they stay quiet or choose to speak. If you want to truly understand yourself and unlock your full potential as an INFJ, check out the INFJ Mastery course today. The link is in the description of this video.